So far, you've met two entrepreneurs, Marissa Vicario and Brittany Castro. Both turns what they love to do into a successful business. Well, where there's two, there's three. The next business pioneer you're going to meet is Nadia Dorsey. Nadia turned her love for languages into her livelihood. Meet Nadia Dorsey and her company Spectrum Languages.
Buonasera. Buonasera. Come state?
Molto bene.
Molto bene.
I absolutely love my job, that even if I weren't paid, I would still do it every day. My name is Nadia Dorsey and I'm the founder and director of Spectrum Languages. We teach foreign languages to students, adults, and businesses and provide language curriculum and instructors to cities and schools. You know, every time I teach a class where people get, a spark in their eyes, for me, it just brings me a lot of joy. And at the end of the day, I can say that I'm doing something that's helping other people.
Oh, okay.
I've been fortunate to have my business for 12 years now, and I would say the moment that I knew I sort of made it was when I hired my first employee and first assistant. I felt that I'd been doing all this work to try to learn and do billing and trying to market and get new students. And when I was able to finally have other people believe in what I was doing and believe in my leadership, then I felt as though, I had built something. The people that you surround yourself with, including your mentors, are very, very important. And sometimes you get great people and sometimes you don't get great people. And to not let the people that don't live up to your expectations hold you back, and hopefully to learn from that. One thing, when you start a business, you have kind of one purpose, and you think, if I can get to that first paycheck or I can get to that first client, then you've achieved success. But as the longer that you go on, I think you start looking at the bigger picture of things, and you have to be able to adapt. And even though you might think you have a great product or there's a lot of interest, for me personally, every 2 years it seems as though we have to reinvent ourselves and build what seems like a new business.
Hola, ¿puedo hablar con Maria?
Education is something that people talk about when they're an entrepreneur, whether it's necessary and whether it's not. As I look back, I think some education that might help you and your skill set to advance you in the entrepreneur in the industry you're in is definitely recommendable. But I don't want to discourage anyone who doesn't graduate from a top university or doesn't graduate from college at all to follow in what they want to do. If you have an idea and you can inspire somebody and you can create some business greater than yourself, then that's an entrepreneur. It's not defined by your education or what you've done, it's about what you're about to do. I'm not sure if everyone can be an entrepreneur. I think everyone can try and see if it's for them. I think it requires absolute dedication. It requires an ability to take a risk. It requires an ability to believe in something better and greater than yourself.
Come si dice we have? Abbiamo.
If I were not willing to work 12, 14, 16, 24 hours a day in the first year, 2 years, and believed at the end I was going to succeed, then it's not going to work. It's not for somebody who just wants to go in 6 hours a day, come home, and just relax. For me, as an entrepreneur, and I think for most entrepreneurs, your day really doesn't necessarily end. However, it does provide flexibility. But I believed in myself, and I think if you believe in yourself, you can definitely do it.
Please join me in a warm welcome for Nadia Dorsey. So next on our program, we're going to discuss the how-to issues that every new business pioneer must tackle, like seeing an opportunity and knowing when and how to build a business around that opportunity. To help us answer those and other questions, we searched our Los Angeles backyard for the resources that our local aspiring entrepreneurs use. We found the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship, or Nifty for short. Nifty has an important mission. They offer programs that inspire young people from low-income communities to stay in school, recognize business opportunities, and plan for their futures. Nifty has worked with more than 500,000 young people, not only in Los Angeles, but also across our country and around the world. Today, we have two amazing people from Nifty. First, we have Megan DePayne, who is the program director for Nifty. Megan has helped many young people get started on their dreams of building their own business. She is an inspiring mentor and coach. Please welcome Megan DePayne to our conversation. And we're so happy to have one of Nifty's student entrepreneurs with us today as well, Mary Martinez. When she was 6 years old, Mary came to the U.S. from Cuba. At that early age, she had to learn a second language and how to adapt to a new culture. In Mary's senior year of high school, she completed Nifty's entrepreneurship program and shortly thereafter started her own business. And how sweet it is. Mary Martinez is the founder of Mary's Sweets on a Stick, a custom cake pop business. Please give a really big round of applause for our youngest entrepreneur, Miss Mary Martinez. Can you all talk about how important having a mentor is?
Absolutely. At Nifty, we actually bring entrepreneurs in from the community as volunteers into our classes. They work with our students throughout the year as mentors and coaches, and it's by far the most beneficial piece of the program because our students get to see an example of somebody who is out there and doing what they're trying to do, and they can learn from their successes and their failures. And it's also really important for the students to have actually someone to listen to their ideas and actually validate what they're trying to do. And I know, Mary, you had coaches come into the class, and you can talk about what that experience was for you.
I had multiple coaches come into a class, and each coach taught me something different. Each coach was an entrepreneur themselves, so they taught us, what happened to them when they first started their business. And it calmed us a little bit because we were like, how is a 18-year-old business going to get out there? And most of them were 18 when they started their business. Most of them were young, in their 20s. And it just made us feel better about our business.
And you were so young when you started your business. Were you nervous? I mean, what was going through your mind, and how did you overcome that?
I took the class because I knew the teacher, and I thought it was going to be an easy A. And it was my senior year. It was my senior year, and I didn't want to stress. I was wrong. I stressed about my business. It was so stressful. It was hard for me. But it ended up paying off. I won in my class, and it ended up paying,
We worked with over 1,800 students last year across Los Angeles, and I have to say Mary was one of the most dedicated students that I saw in the class, where every time we came in, she was asking for more advice and getting opinions and showing us how she had adapted her business plan and kept changing and pivoting, as they were talking about earlier.
We did internships. It was another great thing that I'd found during college. It's a lot easier watching other people fail before you do. So I said, oh, don't do that. That's another thing not to do. And so by the time I'd started my business when I was 22, I'd really had a better idea of what to do and what not to do, and had another mentor of mine that had really shaped my projection of what was going to happen and his success.
Everyone says that the first 6 months of your business is sort of the critical time. What struggles did you go through during those 6 months, and what advice would you give to young entrepreneurs who are just starting their business?
Convincing my parents to support me. That was step number one. Number two was definitely finding a mentor to help me out that had a vested interest in me and wanted to see me succeed. And basically being really creative and trying to market, and as some of the other entrepreneurs had mentioned, is being on the ground and showing your support and showing your passion and getting other people to believe in you. And once you can do that, I think a lot of people just jump on board, and the word spreads and you get success.
I've got a question for you, Mary. Coming from radio, I'm a big fan of food on a stick. How did the light bulb go off in your head when you were baking and making cakes and making pastries in the living room, and you thought to yourself, cake pops, that's the future?
It all started when we were told that our class project was to start a business. I went around, my class had mostly girls. They all went to the cakes and cupcakes, and I wanted to do something different. And then around that area was when a book came out by Bakerella about cake pops. And I love doing them. I've tried doing them before, but my mom didn't let me do them a lot because they're messy when you're crumbling the cake. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do this.
Was it hard to get all the resources together when you decided you wanted to open this business?
It was, because before I took my entrepreneurship, I was the type of person that would start something, and when it got hard, I would just drop it. so my parents didn't take me seriously. I had to convince them, and mostly just start by borrowing money from my grandma first.
Always
And
go
then
to
when
grandma first.
Because my parents wouldn't believe me. They would be, you're gonna drop this. There's no point giving you money. There's no point helping you.
Yeah.
And to a point, they were right, because I would start something, then drop it. But when they saw me getting serious, they saw me, staying up till late working on my business plan, my parents started supporting me more.
At Nifty, we encourage the students to start businesses tomorrow with the resources they have today. So it's not so much, it's like Nadia spoke earlier, think big but start small. Scale it back, start with something manageable, and then work towards longer term goals that you can set.
How do you help them decide if it's a good idea, worth pursuing, or something
Absolutely.
that's
That's always one of the
not gonna work?
most challenging things for our students, is getting that starting point. They have a lot of ideas, but teaching them that not every idea is actually a business opportunity is step one. And the first piece of our curriculum is what we call opportunity recognition. And we have them try to think of different ideas based on a want or a need that they experience in their own lives. So we ask them, what's a problem that you're facing constantly, whether it's yours directly or maybe a problem that you see in your community or your family, and what's a solution that you can, come up with to address that. And there's often a business that they can spring out of that. And then we have them do something as simple as like a SWOT analysis, where we ask them to look at the strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats to those ideas, and really have them try to delve in as deep as possible to make sure they've really researched the idea and that they have somewhere to go with it.
So my need to understand when my mom was talking behind my back would be a good example of starting a business. That was definitely very important, yeah.
How important it is for you all to have a good team around you?
Oh, it's so important. I've had, both a good team and bad team. So you understand, I think initially when you have people that have let you down in some ways, that's just as important of a lesson as it is to have great people around you. And being an entrepreneur, one of the best things is that you get to choose who those people are. So right now I have a new partner who has definitely made my business and our success just leap forward. And we get to have a better time. It's a great way to have camaraderie and just not to feel like you're alone in so many ways.
What qualities do you look for in a good partner?
I think honesty is definitely an important thing when you're trusting somebody with things such as finance, with checks, with basically your goals is very important. Second is a shared vision. And third, I would say, is a commitment. When you have one person doing more than the other, I think it doesn't work out as well. But when you have somebody who is willing, as we do, have our daily meetings at midnight, and is willing to be there till 2 in the morning, it makes you feel a lot better and more confident in your ability to go forward and hopefully succeed.
Is it difficult to tell someone that they're not pulling their weight when you've got a small business and you work really intimately with one another?
Do I seem like a shy person? Is that what you're going Fortunate for me, I haven't had, I think initially maybe, you want to try to please everyone and you want to, make everyone feel good about themselves, but at some point you do have to look at the numbers and say, this isn't working out or it's not. And I think one thing that was also difficult was when you hire friends. That makes it a little bit more complex because you're also risking, friendships. But I think, as one of my teachers said, I was scared to death of you when I first interviewed, and that same person has now come back and become my partner. So I think initially, if you scare them enough, then after that, it only gets better from there.
How do you teach people to do that? Because people now break up with one another via text message. They don't like having these conversations.
Our students in our classes actually have the option to work on their business plan either on their own or with a partner. And all the time, immediately the students grab the person next to them, their best friend, and say, okay, we're gonna do it together. And they think, one, it's gonna be easier. I'm gonna get to do half the work and I get to do it with my buddy. And I actually always recommend to our students to do it on their own for a couple of reasons. One, you're not gonna do half the work just because you have another partner there. Everyone still has to be invested in that and put in all of the time. Two, if you start it with a friend, a lot of our students, like Nadia said, it can be difficult because not always is someone going to pull their weight, and then you have to navigate around those situations. And when it's your business and it's sort of your baby, it's your idea that you're trying to nurture, I explained to them, you then have to agree on almost everything with that person, right? You're going to work together to move this forward. And if it's your idea and our students have a business plan competition on the line where eventually they could win $25,000 worth of seed money and scholarship money, that's something they're really invested into. And you want to make sure that you're making the decisions you want to make. And then the thing that they almost exclusively only listen to is when I tell them you then have to split the prize money. That's when they then choose to work on their own. So I give them all the other logical reasons, but they just hear the money piece.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. I really
you very
appreciate
much.
it.